I was looking at this today, and I was trying to figure out who potentially could fight at 165 if they'd done this division. Who would go there? And I was looking online to see what other journalists and stuff, what suggestions they gave, what fans were giving on Reddit, because Reddit had a big thread about it as well, about, oh, this guy could be great at 165. And we always hear of like Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson is the 165 pound division. He's not a 170er. He can't make 155, but he can make there. So what I did was I put them all down on a sheet, and I was like, oh, I have plenty of fighters here, and I created a bracket. And I don't know if you have this open, Darren, but if you can open the chat, open the actual YouTube, you're on a bit of a delay, but the other people probably can see it. And what I saw was I had enough to create this bracket for a potential tournament for the 165 pound championship, 16-man tournament of welterweights and lightweights who could potentially move back and forth. And what I did, I put loads of work into this, lad, so you got to help us out, and you got to vote in the chat of who wins these fights, and then we could try crown a champion here on the OFT live chat. But basically, I took all the fighters, got them by their ranking, their UFC ranking, because we all know that just, you know, that's legit, that UFC rankings system. And then I seeded them based on their ranking. And then we created a little tournament here. So you can see Khabib Nurmagomedov, for example, is the #1 seed because he is the champion at lightweight, the only champion who is in this bracket. Conor McGregor is #2 because he's #1/2 in the lightweight rankings, and so on and so forth. So we actually have a tournament here. And Darren, I want you to help me figure out who's going to be the inaugural 165 champion if this fantasy tournament happened, and we'll get some assistance in the chat, hopefully. So, first matchup, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Mike Perry. How would you see that going?
Well, it's a weird one. Mike Perry will stand and throw with anyone, and you'd like to fancy his, you know, sort of one-shot power against anyone, especially at sort of that weight. But you could also, on the flip side, when you put me against someone like Khabib, just a complete mauling. The first thing when the bracket come up, I thought, is poor Mike Perry.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. I think that's a very, very tough matchup for Mike Perry. I can't see anybody in the chat giving Mike Perry that fight. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that Khabib Nurmagomedov wins that fight, and I'll add that in. Farrell Connolly said, look at Rob giving Conor the easiest fight on the tournament. And no, I didn't. It was all seeded. This was a seeded tournament. And look, I already had Khabib Nurmagomedov wrote in there. Didn't even realise that, but I did. But yeah, it's seeded. It's not intentional. Okay, let's go over Tony Ferguson against George St. Pierre. That's probably the best opening matchup. The reason why George St. Pierre is so low ranked, he's 14, is because he's actually unranked on the UFC rankings right now. So he missed out on that. So he needs to face Tony Ferguson. How do you see that one going? And chat, how do you see this fight going?
It's a weird one. There's a lot of talk now that GSP would comfortably potentially even make lightweight, which seems so bizarre seeing the size he was when he fought Michael Bisping. I think a lot of this would depend on what we see from Tony Ferguson coming back from this injury. Not really seen him. It would have been great to see how he would have done against someone like Khabib, to be able to have some sort of acid test for how this matchup would go. But you'd say Tony Ferguson's tough as anything, is what you could say, but you'd expect GSP to sort of pull off the victory, probably go all the way. I like these all to be 5-round matches as well.
Yeah, 5 rounds, of course, 5 rounds.
5 rounds.
Yeah, what else? 5 rounds.
You could see Tony Ferguson making it all the way to the end, but probably just about being outpointed by GSP.
MMA Buds is calling out my rankings. I'll explain it again. You must have come in a little bit late, but as well, I didn't say this at the top of the chat, but if you can give this video a like, that actually helps us quite a lot. And if you can give it a share on say Twitter, and tell people that we're doing the real 165 pound tournament right now, and they need to get in on this. But yeah, MMA Buds, the reason why GSP is number 14 is because GSP is unranked in the UFC rankings, and that's what I based this on, just out of openness, I guess. I just wanted to base it on something, and that's what it is. But it seems like most people are going for GSP in this one. Close fight as well for me, but I think GSP's wrestling be too much. I think Ferguson spends too much time on his back, tries to look for submissions. I think GSP can stop those and get the win. Nate Diaz versus Michael Chiesa. That's an interesting fight, actually. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, it's a weird one to call because the Nate Diaz, a lot of people know, was the one that went to these wars with Conor McGregor and beat Conor McGregor and came very close to beating him in the rematch. But the Nate Diaz before then was a guy who would win one fight, lose a fight. It was generally sort of around the sort of number 10 ranking in his divisions. Michael Chiesa is another one. If you would have said, before the Kevin Lee fight, you'd probably definitely picking Michael Chiesa, but I think he looked so drained for the Anthony Pettis fight as well, which I think definitely impacted on his performance. It's quite a hard one to call, to be honest, because you don't know what would Chiesa look like at 165. I'm not sure in terms of reach and size whether Chiesa would have an advantage on him. Probably going to have to go for Nate Diaz.
Yeah, that's actually how I'm leaning as well, and it seems like most people in the chat is leaning that way. I think it's stylistically, I think it's a really, really tough matchup for Nate. I think he obviously struggles with wrestlers and big wrestlers at that. Kess is a big guy, but he's not quite that big 170 or that would be moving down. He did fight at 155. So I think Nate will be able to do enough to stay out of that wrestling, and Chiesa striking isn't the best in the world. So I agree. I'm going to go with Nate Diaz, and it seems like most people in the chat has gone with that as well. Here's a really good fight. Donald Cerrone versus Kevin Lee. Man, that is a scrap.
Well, Donald Cerrone is also one thrown into that sort of discussion over the Donald Cerrone of old. Would have given probably most fighters in this tournament a good run for the money. But the recent run he's been on, the Donald Cerrone of old would never have lost to Leon Edwards in the sort of fashion he did. I know he seemed to struggle going into that with his. I think he had a staph infection, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, staph. Yeah, it was bad.
And Kevin Lee is a bad man is probably the sort of best way to put it. It's a bit of a weird matchup because stylistically Cerrone is the better striker out of the two, but Kevin Lee is so dangerous submission wise. Like we see the way he submitted Michael Chiesa somewhat controversially, but I'd probably go with Kevin Lee in that one.
I'm with you there. I think it's actually not an easy fight for Kevin Lee, but it's a favourable one for him. It seems like everybody's going for Lee, and that some people are saying Lee's going to win the tournament. We'll see. I'm taking this way too serious, but it's hilarious. MMA Buds also wants clarification on the system used to get these rankings. I based them off their current rankings in their own division, and then if somebody was, say, number 5 in welterweight and somebody was number 5 in lightweight, I checked their win streak or their loss streak to see who had the better system. I put a lot of work into this, man. Come on. This is yeah, but I think everybody's gone for Kevin Lee in this one. Yeah, so we put Lee in there. The next fight in the opener round is Rafael dos Anjos versus Alex Oliveira, the Brazilian cowboy.
That's another one. Like 165 is probably a division sort of tailor made for someone like Dos Anjos.
Yeah. Can't make lightweight anymore.
And it was weird how good at one point he did look at lightweight, the way he sort of looked when he was the champion of that division, and even when he moved up to 170, he looked like he was going to go all the way there. You'd have to pick Dos Anjos. He really would, sort of all round. Alex Oliveira can be dangerous. Probably a good main event in Brazil, that fight would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, just about edge for RDA.
So you have RDA on the chat right now. I can see 1 for RDA and 3 for Cowboy, 4 for Cowboy. Man, I think Cowboy's going through.
Probably due to his sort of recent form.
Maybe
I suppose he's a bit more relevant, isn't he, at the minute, and dangerous.
Yeah, I would think RDA
submission wise.
Yeah, I'd be with you, and I think RDA, but it looks like the chat has gone with Cowboy. Brazilian Cowboy's going through. We got overpowered by the live chat, so Cowboy is going in. On the right cowboy there. It's easier. The next fight on this amazing tournament is Jorge Masvidal versus James Vick.
Yeah, another. It's a bit of a weird fight, especially when you see the names underneath, like the winners going to face either James Krause or Conor McGregor. We haven't picked the winner of that one just yet, but yeah, you'd fancy. It's another bit of a weird fight in a way where I like Jorge Masvidal. I would have liked to see him and Mike Perry facing off against each other. If I had to pick one of them, it'd probably be Masvidal.
Yeah, I'm with you as well.
Even sure how the fight go, to be honest.
it's a very weird fight, but this is how the tournament falls. But I think Jorge Masvidal wins. I think he's craftier. I just think he's a much craftier fighter. James Vick, obviously, he was on a great run up until his last one, but I just think Jorge Masvidal is the overall better fighter. He's fought pretty well at 170 as well, and it looks like the chat as well is going for it's going for Masvidal. So let's put that in. Masvidal. Next fight on the opening round, second last one, Gunnar Nelson versus Dustin Poirier. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very good matchup, because you see Dustin Poirier's very, very well rounded. And you definitely say out of the two of them, there's no doubt who's the better striker. Whereas when it comes to grappling and submissions, obviously the ground game of Gunnar Nelson is superior, but I'm not sure grappling-wise how he'd get to those sort of dominant positions without being caught by Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Dustin just about. Probably stops him.
Wow. I'd favour Dustin as well, and Nelson hasn't fought in quite a bit. It looks like we're almost split in the live chat here, so unless Nelson gets some backing before I give my pick, we'll have to go with Dustin Poirier. But yeah, I think Dustin Poirier, his striking's a little bit too good. I think even the Ponzinibbio fight, I know there was an eye poke there, was a bit controversial, but I just think that Gunnar needs it on the floor, and Dustin's been looking really, really good. So yeah, the live chat is agreeing with us. We're going to go with Poirier. Dustin goes in there. The last one in the main, in the opening. Yeah, this is a weird fight. Conor McGregor versus James Krause, because this would definitely happen in the UFC at some point.
It's weird. A lot of the matchups on this tournament you could actually realistically see happening, and then you see James Krause and Conor McGregor, like two names. It's sort of when you go through like 10 years on the UFC 3 game. To the end, that sort of Conor McGregor versus James Krause is what it seems to have thrown up. I like James Krause, but yeah, there's only one winner in this fight for me.
Yeah,
and it's not James Krause.
Yeah, it's very difficult to say that James Krause would win this fight. James Krause is a very, very good fighter, but I can see all the Conors coming in on the live chat. Yeah, we're not messing around here. I think it has to be McGregor winning this one. So the first quarterfinal matchup, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Nate Diaz.
Yeah, I think you touched on it with the Diaz-Chiesa fight, where Diaz would generally struggle against a wrestler of that nature, and there's probably not many that you could throw in the same league as Khabib for being so relentless. Diaz is tough. He's good on the ground as well. He's good, well-rounded, but you couldn't see how Nate Diaz would win that fight.
Yeah, that fight to me reeks of Rory McDonald versus Nate Diaz. Just reeks of it. I just don't see anything else but that result and that type of fight where Khabib just ragdolls him. Yeah, nobody in the chat is picking Nate Diaz right now. So yeah, Khabib Nurmagomedov, the #1 seed, is going through. The next matchup, and the guy who will face Khabib in the next fight, I guess. Oh no, possibly in the finals. What am I talking about? GSP versus Kevin Lee.
I think Kevin Lee doesn't get like as much credit as he deserves. He'd probably make that fight quite competitive. But you still couldn't see anything other. It's a bit like the Nate Diaz one. What would be the path to victory for Kevin Lee? Maybe we threw some dynamic sort of striking into there that might sort of shock GSP. But you can just see, him being out-wrestled and sort of, it hardly screams sort of fight of the night at me, but I think Kevin Lee would do okay in that fight, but I don't think he'd do enough.
Yeah, Kevin Lee to me seems like almost a similar type of fighter to GSP. He is a really good grappler. Probably at this point in his career, as in how early it is in his career, probably a little bit better of a grappler. But obviously GSP is probably the better grappler right now, but in terms of like when they were at that age. Striking wise, again, it's kind of even, but I don't know. I think it's a really tough fight. I find this one really hard to pick, so I'm going to defer to the chat. What do I see more of? I don't know if you have the chat open there. It looks pretty split.
Yeah, I have to see.
It looks pretty split. GSP probably.
GSPs. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's GSP. The chat have come to a decision. GSP wins. GSP. Next up in the quarterfinals, you have Brazilian Cowboy Alex Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier.
Well, it's sort of weird to see Alex Oliveira at this kind of stage of the tournament when you go back to when, he struggled to make 155 and he was never really a major sort of player in that division. He just seemed to be the guy that would take any fight anywhere on any sort of notice. Whereas it's a bit of a weird one. Like, you couldn't see how, Dustin Poirier could lose that fight. Obviously, submission sort of screams out at you, but Dustin's is very, very well rounded, as I said in the first sort of instance of it. I think it'd be a tight fight, but I think the only way Poirier would lose that would be, a submission sort of early on.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think in that particular fight, I think it's well matched as well, because Cowboy and Dustin probably could have ran into each other at some point in their careers. Obviously, they're in different weight classes now, but I just think Dustin's the better all-round fighter here. I think if Cowboy's to win, it's going to be like dropping him and then submitting him, as you said. It's going to be something like that, whereas Dustin could probably beat him by decision. So I'd probably pick Dustin like 8 times out of 10 or something like that. I'll have a quick look at the chat. Dustin smokes him. That's what Rafa the Booty Whisperer said. Vanderboss said Dustin Poirier catches Oliveira. Yeah. So it looks like it's Dustin Poirier. Oliveira is out. And the final quarter-final matchup.
So where they say Cowboy is like a bit of a dark horse in that tournament.
Yeah.
Brazilian Cowboy is it's hard to write him off in any first fight against, just because of that unpredictability he's got. I
agree, and he's on a good run now as well. Like, you can see that early knockout he got last weekend. Looked pretty good. Not against the greatest guy in the world, but still. Next matchup, which is a fight we'll probably never see ever. But man, I would love to see this fight. This is a great scrap. Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, it'd be a great stylistic matchup for sort of to see Conor in with, Masvidal's never been finished. There's not many people sort of tougher than him, and even, went all the way with Wonder Boy, whose striking is, somewhat sensational. You couldn't see Masvidal winning the fight. I'd find it hard to pick Masvidal, in sort of any situation of it. Maybe over 5 rounds, if he was to drag it into the trenches in the later rounds, he might be able to swing it in his favour, but I could see Conor probably becoming the first man to stop him.
Yeah, I'm in agreement here. I think it's a great matchup. I think it'd be an amazing striking fight. But I think Masvidal almost fights to his level, which is a good thing to fight when you're fighting someone the level of McGregor. But I feel like he's always that one step behind against the really, really, really good guys. And as John Vale said in the chat, Masvidal gets hit too much. And not that he likes getting hit, nobody likes getting hit, but he will take a shot. And you don't want to take a shot against someone like McGregor. There's a few people picking Masvidal in the chat, but I just don't see enough there. So
it would have been great to see Justin gave Chiesa a alternative in this tournament.
Oh man, yeah. I considered putting him in, but I just went on basically all the lists of people who potentially could go to this division according to the people who know, I guess. Yeah. A lot of people are saying Masvidal loses a decision or gets knocked out, so a few Masvidal picks in there. So he showed up a good fight, but McGregor goes through. The semi-finals, here we go. Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good matchup where a lot of people would just sort of instantly pick Khabib because of what Khabib is and what he entails. Whereas Poirier's sort of striking and his defensive grappling is very, very good. And one where he sort of flew under the radar once Conor McGregor beat him. A lot of people just sort of discounted him from ever being a sort of star in the sport. And even now, when he's so high in that division, there's still a lot of people not mentioning his names alongside like Tony Ferguson and those people. It's a tough fight to call, actually.
Yeah.
Because you could see, it'd be interesting. I'll probably change my opinion based on how Khabib versus Conor goes. Because if Conor goes out and knocks Khabib out in the first 2 rounds, you'd say Dustin Poirier will probably win this matchup. But yeah, I'm going to go for Khabib by wrestling his way to a decision.
Yeah, I'm in agreement as well. I think it's a good style matchup as far as we know for Khabib. Dustin fights a similar way to McGregor, and he has that left hand as well, which is really good. Has a great jab, and he's just always improving. But it just does seem like Khabib would be able to take him down too much, and Poirier has shown that weakness in his game. It seems like everybody in the chat is picking Khabib. Farrell Connolly says Khabib, Jonathan Curry says Khabib, Van der Bos says Khabib, MMA Buds Khabib. Everybody's picking Khabib. I don't see one Poirier pick, unfortunately. But again, excellent matchup, and probably a fight we'll end up seeing at 155 down the line. But Khabib Nurmagomedov progresses to the finals. The other semi-final matchup, George St. Pierre versus Conor McGregor, the super fight that a lot of people want. Who wins it at 165?
It's so hard to it's quite similar to the upcoming fight between Khabib and Conor in a way of, it is that similar stylistic matchup, but you just can't see how GSP's size over Conor wouldn't prove very tough for Conor to overcome. Especially, like we said, if these are 5-round fights. I can't see how Conor, unless he puts him away in the first 7 minutes, which is what we seem to say for sort of every Conor fight now. I think GSP's size would just prove very, very tough for Conor to overcome. Yeah,
I agree. I think we're agreeing with everything here. We haven't disagreed with one. I think Conor can obviously land, and it's a similar situation when he fights Khabib this weekend or next weekend, but it just seems like GSP doesn't get hit a whole lot. Got hit a little bit by Michael Bisping, and of course the Carlos Condit one, he got hit with that head kick. But I don't know, I just think GSP is just out grapples him, gets him to the floor, tires him out. But yeah, there's some people talking about GSP cutting to 155. How tough would that be? Potentially really tough. So who knows, but it looks like most people are going with GSP in the chat, so it's GSP is going through. It's Khabib Nurmagomedov versus GSP in the final for the 165-pound championship. Two similar enough fighters. One's a better striker, I guess. You could argue one's a better grappler, but which way are you going with this one?
It's an interesting one because I think if you went back 4 or 5 years ago, you'd say GSP wasn't that great of a striker either, but I think the way his boxing's improved under training with Freddie Roach and all that, which would definitely give him a huge advantage on the feet. It'd be hard to see how Khabib would feel about trying to take GSP down, and how would he be able to take GSP down. It would probably be one of the few matchups where Khabib wouldn't have a weight advantage. He'd probably have a weight disadvantage, if anything. And I could see GSP standing and potentially knocking him out.
Wow. It's a really, really interesting one. I don't know how. I'd love to see it happen, just because I'd love to see what Khabib's wrestling and grappling looks like against GSP. GSP has never been out-grappled in his whole career. Either has Khabib, I guess. He couldn't get takedowns against Trinaldo. Was it Trinaldo? Or no, Tebow, wasn't it? So
yeah, Tebow, which he arguably could have lost that fight. And
arguably, yeah.
Sit and watch it.
Man, this is a really tough fight. Someone help me in the chat.
It's a weird matchup where it's like, you could never see that being, your sort of fight of the night thing. It could turn out to be one of those really awkward matchups where, Khabib's just trying to take him down. A bit like Woodley Maya sort of ended up.
Yeah. I'm stuck on this one. The next one, to give a prediction in the chat, I'm going to go with that one, because I don't know. I think, and people are talking about Rory. Imagine Rory in this tournament. That'd be unbelievable. But I think it's just a really, really difficult fight to pick. I think if it stays on the feet, you'd have to favour GSP, wouldn't you? Van der Bos.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Done it. Van den Bos said Khabib to grind the decision. So that's it. There's your winner. Your winner's Khabib.